The select board meeting was called to order at 6:40. We went over who's in the room. First error, first correction, page 1, under 2022-23 budget discussion, first sentence, cross out listers and. It was noted that the listers and the auditors, listers and needs to be dropped. Same page, underneath information found out about the Athens collection. 1, 2, the third sentence down, need to strike the words, the people paying first, paid most, just strike that.
Okay,
No changes on page 2. No, on page 3, in the middle of the page where it says using the bridge culvert municipal bond money, Ms. Magic discussed the municipal bond. It should say $90,000, you left off the 0. Okay, page 4. Under email, Gary Laborgnis suggested contacting John Ballou for select board interest.
how do you spell Baloo?
Pallou.
Okay,
Okay, move on to page 5. On page 5, I had some things that I should have done earlier, but I cannot find my notes. The select board did go into executive session at the end of the evening, Peter, as you know. When we came out of executive session, I did make a statement that no motions nor votes or discussions no motions or votes were taken on anything discussed during executive session. We resumed the open meeting at 9.
I think it was about 9:05.
About 9:05, okay, that sounds good. David moved and Bruce seconded, striking the amended accounts payable warrant motion. No, I moved to strike the, what was the date?
I think I moved, I
Yeah,
think
I
I
had
made
G.
the motion.
Okay, I had these, so David moved and Bruce seconded, striking the amended accounts payable warrant. It should remain the same at $19,314.37, which is the original amount produced by the treasurer. The difference of $750, which was the coda and coda, we found was paid in a previous month, so we needed to strike the amendment, which was at the bottom of page, the motion at the bottom of page 4, where we increase the accounts payable, we want to just drop it, okay? And then Dorothy Maggio made a motion to adjourn the meeting, and the meeting was, Sam Novis seconded it, and the meeting ended about 9:20,
Yeah.
approximately 9:20.
got it.
Okay, all right, so that is for our minutes.
Don?
Yes, sir, yes.
When you started, you indicated that the meeting on the 5th started at 6:40. Were you thinking of today's start? I think we started on time that day at 6:30.
Okay, no, tonight's meeting started at 6:40.
Today's, but not that.
That
on the
week,
5th.
yes, it started at 6:30, I'm sorry, yes,
That's okay. So you got that? The meeting started at 6:30.
which is what's on here.
Tonight was at 6:30?
No, tonight was at 6:40. The January, today's meeting, the 19th, we started at 6:40. We had some technical difficulties. So, all right, now we're moving on to the agenda.
So I would make a motion that we approve those minutes from
Second that motion.
January 5th as amended.
I second that motion. All those in favor, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes from January 5th as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Next, we'll take a look at the minutes from January 12th, special Brookline Select Board meeting. Is there any Anybody have any changes that they would like to see or amendments to the draft minutes from January 12th?
I just had one thing, which is I think actually under the budget notes, you have a vote to accept the report is needed on January 19, 2022, or a special meeting will have to be held during the last week in January. I think what you probably meant was a vote to accept the warning, town meeting.
Oh,
warning.
yes, to accept
Is
the
needed.
warning.
I didn't want it to make it sound like the auditor's report had to be accepted by the select board, which it doesn't, and nor does it have to be done tonight.
I did see that in another paperwork that came across my mail. So, all right, I will amend that. It will say a vote to accept the warning is needed on January 19th.
Yeah.
Any other items on this draft agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the special Brookline meeting from January 12th as amended. May I have a second? Seconded by Gwen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the draft minutes from January 12th signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The draft minutes will be amended and sent to Guy. Okay, so. Under old business, we did, the other item that I forgot to mention, under old business, we are going to reorganize the ABCD parts. We're going to right now vote to use Australian ballot and mail to residents first, and then follow with the draft of the town meeting warning. Then we'll talk about town report and the informational hearing details.
Can we just back up 1 second and just
Certainly.
note that there are no members of the public?
There are no
No.
members of the public in the
Members of the
room.
public.
We have a road supervisor and Guy Tanza, the town clerk, the auditor here. Bruce Mello is absent today. And yeah, just Fact TV is online. Okay, vote to use the Australian ballot and to mail to residents. As you are aware, the governor signed both of the bills regarding the emergency election procedures for annual meetings, S-172 and S-223. We do, at this time, signatures for candidates for local offices are not required, so on and so forth. I do have the legislation in front of me if anyone would like to review it. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So if the legislative body votes to use the Australian ballot system for articles that are otherwise typically voted from the floor, we must have an informational hearing. The warning may not contain any questions on whether the municipality shall adopt the Australian ballot and so on and so forth. So I would like to make a motion that the town of Brookline for the 2022 town meeting to be run by Australian ballot on February 28th, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those present, all those who are in favor of holding the 2022 town meeting by Australian ballot signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes. Brookline will be using Australian ballot this year for our voting on Monday, the 28th of February. The town clerk will run the vote here in person from 9 to 7 p.m. as normal.
Well, that, I guess, I just want to clarify, that is part of the warning that we have yet to vote on.
Oh, okay. All right, so
We've merely voted to have Australian
ballot.
ballot. The details of that are what we determined in the warning, which we will now discuss and vote on.
Okay. The mailing of these Australian ballots to residents, is that nothing we can vote on, we can just do that?
Well, I guess to be honest, I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that. I mean, we did not last year proactively mail
No, they have to be
town meeting
requested.
ballots. People can request
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
ballots and they are sent to them.
Yes.
And I assume we would do it the same way.
All right, I just was reading through here and I must have gotten myself a little overwhelmed in legal.
Well, again, I think to highlight governor, I think, and some legislators wanted there to be money made available so that towns could, like we're now going to do for other elections, proactively mail ballots to all the voters in town in this situation. But that was not part of the legislation, and there's no money being made available this year for us to do that.
No, the only election will be the November general election.
All right, so we'll move then on, since we have voted to use the Australian ballot for this year, we'll move on to reviewing the draft of town meeting warning. David, again, thank you very much for setting this up. Everybody have a copy of it in front of them?
So what I'm gonna suggest, like we've done in years past, as painful as this is, I would suggest that I read the entire ballot, the entire warning. And then, once I have read I'm gonna make a motion that we approve this. I'm gonna read the entire thing.
And then we'll vote after you.
And then presumably, somebody will second it, at least at that point. And then we can have discussion if there are points that if there's any confusion over, if we want to make any changes to it, stuff like that. Does that
Yes.
seem sensible?
Yep.
Okay, and Peter, I'll send you this after the fact. You don't have to worry about capturing the details of this.
Okay.
So I would. Sorry.
He said, okay.
Oh, sorry. So I would like to make a motion that we approve the following warning for the 2022 Brookline town meeting, I guess. So, which reads as follows: warning for 2022 Brookline town meeting. The legal voters of the town of Brookline are hereby warned to meet in the Brookline town office in said town on Monday, February 28, 2022, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. to transact the following business by Australian ballot. Article 1, to elect all town officers required by law: town moderator for a term of 1 year, town clerk for a term of 1 year, town treasurer for a term of 1 year, delinquent tax collector for a term of 1 year, select board member for a term of 3 years, select board member for a term of 2 years, lister for a term of 3 years, lister for a term of 2 years, remainder of an open 3-year term, lister for a term of 1 year, remainder of an open 3-year term, auditor for a term of 3 years, cemetery commissioner for a term of 5 years, trustee of public funds for a term of 1 year. Article 2, shall the town accept the auditor's report? Article 3, shall the town vote to approve the general and highway fund expenditures, net of non-tax budgeted revenues for the town as follows: amount to be raised by taxes for general fund, $145,667. Amount to be raised by taxes for highway fund, $232,367. Total municipal taxes to be raised, $378,034. Article 4, shall the town authorize the collection of taxes? Sorry. Oh, sorry. I just heard a feedback or something. Sorry. Article 4, shall the town authorize the collection of taxes in 4 installments, with the due dates being August 16, 2022, November 15, 2022, February 16, 2023, May 16, 2023. Shall the voters appropriate $250 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of American Red Cross? That was Article 5, if I didn't start by saying that. Article 6, shall the voters appropriate $125 to be raised in taxes in continuing support of CRT, the current Connecticut River Transit. Article 7, shall the voters appropriate $300 to be raised in taxes in continuing support of Grace Cottage Foundation. Article 8, shall the voters appropriate $50 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Green Up Vermont. Article 9, shall the voters appropriate $300 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Groundworks Collaborative. Article 10, shall the voters appropriate $250 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Historical Society of Windham County. Article 11, shall the voters appropriate $250 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Leland and Gray Education Foundation. Article 12, shall the voters appropriate $700 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Moore Free Library. Article 13, shall the voters appropriate $100 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Rural Fire Protection Program. Article 14, shall the voters appropriate $700 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Senior Solutions. Article 15, shall the voters appropriate $465 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of SEVCUP. Article 16, shall the voters appropriate $1,590 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies, or SEDES. Article 17, shall the voters appropriate $500 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Southern Vermont Therapeutic Riding Center. Article 18, shall the voters appropriate $130 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Southeastern Watershed Alliance. Article 19, shall the voters appropriate $100 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of VABVI, Vermont Association for the Blind. Article 20, shall the voters appropriate $821 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Valley Cares, Inc. Article 21, shall the voters appropriate $80 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Vermont Center for Independent Living. Article 22, shall the voters appropriate $250 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Vermont Family Network. Article 23, shall the voters appropriate $1,000 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Visiting Nurse Alliance. Article 24, shall the voters appropriate $500 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Windham County Humane Society. Article 25, shall the voters appropriate $650 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of Women's Freedom Center. Article 26, shall the voters appropriate $255 to be raised by taxes in continuing support of youth services. Article 27, shall the voters appropriate $500 to be raised by taxes in support of the Gathering Place. Article 28, shall the town vote to collect its current taxes by its town treasurer pursuant to 32 VSA 4791. Article 29, shall the voters approve the appropriation of up to $22,000 for recycling costs for fiscal year 2023. Article 30, shall the voters approve the appropriation of $20,000 to establish a budget stabilization / rainy day fund. Polls open at Brookline Town Office February 28, 2022 from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. dated this 19th day of January 2022. Dorothy Maggio, Bruce Mello, we will strike that since Bruce is not in attendance. Gwendolyn Tanza, Stan Noga, David Jones.
I'd like to second that. Any discussion?
Well done.
Hearing none, all those in
So can I just ask, does anybody have any
questions?
lingering questions about the amounts that are warned in Article 3 for the general fund, highway fund, and then the total? Let me just very quickly recap where those numbers come from, just so that there's no confusion. The budget that we have developed has a total for Fund 1, the operating budget, the non-highway budget. It has a total for operating expenditures. That total is $168,707. That includes all of the expenditures that we have budgeted for that, with the exception of recycling services and any of the appropriations, because those are warned, like we just read, separately. So those will be voted up or down on their own. So they're not factored into this number that we're voting as part of Article 3. You take that expenditures total of $168,707 and you subtract what we have budgeted for revenue for that fund, which is $23,040, and you come up with $145,667. And that is the number that's included in that article for the operating fund. Makes sense to everybody? Anybody have any questions about that?
No.
The second number is for the highway fund. So again, from our budget that we've just developed, we have an expenditure line item at the bottom of the budget for the highway fund, which came out to $272,517 for expenditures. Again, like we did with the operating, we subtract the budgeted revenues that we have for that fund, which are $40,150, and you come up with $232,367, which is the highway number. And then basically you add those two numbers together, and that's where we get the total municipal taxes to be raised of $378,034.
Excuse me, the tax revenue on the highway fund, and you're saying we have revenue of how much?
$40,150 is what we budgeted.
Okay, I thought the state highway mileage thing isn't that in the highway fund?
Yep, and we budgeted $40,000 for that.
So that's the only revenue that we have, basically?
No, we have $40,000 in state aid, we have $50 in permit revenue, and $100 in interest on investment is what
Okay, so that's the only
we
revenue,
did. But it's primarily the state aid.
okay,
And again, this is non-tax revenue.
right, okay.
Now, I know that in the past, we have ended up receiving more than that
Right.
from the state.
Yeah.
But when we had this whole discussion,
That's what
we decided to budget 40,000.
Okay,
So that's why that number is there.
all right, no, I realize this year was 50 grand, but that's fine.
Any other questions about how those numbers came to be, or anything that we think might be wrong with that number? Those
Thank you
numbers.
for taking the time.
No, I
Sure.
think very thorough, and our responsibilities are met.
So yeah, if there are any other questions about the discussion, then we'll just vote.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor of approving the warning for the 2022 Brookline Town Meeting as read and explained by Mr. David Jones, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the warning has been approved as written. Thank you very much.
So just to recap, the one change that I will make to it before I send it to
the
the
signature.
auditors is I will just remove Bruce's line from the signature line, since he
Okay.
wasn't here to actually vote on it. But otherwise it remains the same.
All right, so we're still down in item 5. We completed item 5A and item 5B. Item 5C, town report discussion.
Yeah, the town report.
Okay,
It's January 19th. I'm assuming that people agree with following the same approach that we've taken over the last several years, which is we've pared down what goes into the town report. We still have the warning, obviously. We have the contents, we have the general stuff, we have the warning, we have the town officers elected and appointed. We have the minutes from, we have the auditor's report, which is the main thing that we have to include in it. That obviously has to be provided to me by the auditors, hopefully by the end of the month, hopefully. It has minutes from the last town meeting, which are the minutes from the informational hearing that we
No,
had.
basically, the town meeting minutes were the results of the Australian ballot. Oh, you're talking about, yeah.
From last year, yeah, what would constitute the minutes?
Well, what I did is I did a paragraph
Okay, you did,
introducing it,
okay.
saying that this was based upon the COVID-19. The town unanimously voted to have Australian ballot, and the following are the results from the town ballot. It's on the,
Okay, it's on the side, okay, so we'll pull back, so that will be considerably shorter than.
yeah, it's 1 page, I think, or 2 pages.
So we'll trim quite a few pages from the report because we won't have as much. So
Right,
that will save us a
summaries.
few pages.
Mhm.
We have been doing a select board report. Last year's, I mean, the one I did last year was very brief. I don't think it needs to be a lot. One thing that I will say is, what would probably be good to include in it would be, like I did last year, would be a mention of the informational hearing. Now, whether people are gonna physically get this before the informational hearing, in all cases, people aren't necessarily all gonna get this thing by then. But if people have gotten it, I think it would be good to mention that.
I can also, I can get that to you, work this out this weekend, and if you.
Yeah, if you can get it to me sometime next week,
Yeah.
whenever, that would be great.
And I do plan on starting to send out more information to the listserv, and I could actually put the select board, my report on the listserv, which will have information about the informational meeting.
Good idea. Yeah, I mean, I think as I recall last year, we did a class about stuff also, about just sort of the election, essentially.
do you want Gwen's report? She did the dog report, the marriage.
Yes, yeah.
I can give you a copy of it right now, because I've got it done.
Yep.
Well, I need it, yeah, you can.
Yeah, we'll send it to you
Email, send
tomorrow.
it to me, I need everything electronically.
When you've got the town report organized and ready to send to printer, is it possible to put it on the town website?
Yeah, I put,
Yeah,
I do.
You do put
We
it.
do that after.
Yep.
After it's gone to the printer,
Yeah.
we have to provide it to the state in electronic form
Yep.
for the archives, and at the same time, I give Guy a PDF of it and he posts it on the website.
Okay.
And I
The other thing I'll say is that assuming there's time, I will send it around to all of you to proofread as much as possible. The dog report, and the delinquent tax report, do we have any?
Yes.
Whatever
Oh, we
got.
have, I think.
And the vital records.
$149 and.
Yeah, okay, so that stuff, we need, there have historically been, so flipping back to it again, there's the proposed budget, which, again, I think in agreement with the auditors, is gonna be formatted a little bit differently than it has been in past, but it'll be the same basic information. It might take up a little less space, maybe, might not, I'm not sure. There is a report of Brookline estimated tax rates that the treasurer has always produced. I don't know
Actually, when I spoke to Heidi
About
Meister
this?
tonight, she said that
When
Frank would
we-
like our information so that he could put together tax rate data for the community. So maybe the treasurer worked with Frank in the past, I'm not sure.
I don't know, the treasurer's always done it, but whatever they agree to.
Okay, I mean, that, and there's also, historically, there's been a consolidated balance sheet report that has gone in. There has always been a report on meeting house and school building funds, just a basic report about the fund balances and stuff.
When do the ballots, I'm trying to think of when, now that we've got the approval, which didn't come until 1 o'clock this afternoon, of the governor saying that we don't need to have certificates of election, I'm sorry, candidates
Yeah.
do not have to have a signatures. So
you're gonna do another this, right?
we need to put something in
Well,
the,
I think we need to finish, can we finish talking about the town report
oh, okay.
first?
Mhm.
So like I say, I'll figure all this stuff out. I need the auditor's report from the auditors. I can find the minutes on the website the guy's already done. You'll do the select board reports. I'll have the budget, so I can put that in, but yeah, the estimated tax rates, I'll send the warning in the spreadsheet once I've cleaned up the spreadsheet to the auditors, but I guess they've got to produce the estimated tax rates if they want to do it, and the balance sheet and whatever else. I'm honestly not sure that we're required to include the estimated tax rates and the consolidated balance sheet, so.
Right,
I don't know.
I know Heidi said that, just said that he likes to do that, so
Okay.
if that's something that he's done, wants to do again, if not, it's not a requirement, you're correct.
Okay, so yeah, so those guys, if they can produce those things, and then Gwen will send me the other stuff.
So you need vital records
Title records, delinquent tax
And the
report,
dog
and the dog
and
report.
dog report.
Cool, thank you. And yeah, in theory, I'll do it over the last weekend in January. Probably, and then I have to have it to the printer during that following week, the first, February 1st, 2nd, something like that, so. Assuming I get everything in time, and I'll remind Frank and those guys of the timing of things when I send them this stuff.
Good, all right.
So assuming there's time, I'll be able to produce a PDF of it and post it for people to be able to quickly read through.
Anyone runs short of time on anything that needs a hand or thought or otherwise, let me know.
Thanks.
All right,
I think my report's already done.
so that's, anything else on this? Go ahead.
I don't think so,
Okay.
no, I think
So, I did pull off your notes from last year's on the website for the informational hearing details. Oh, actually, this is the minutes from okay, so I have your Town of Brookline remote public informational hearing notice and agenda from last year.
Yeah. And I can produce that same one with just the new information and dates and stuff.
Okay, so
I would suggest that be something that's on our February 2nd agenda.
okay.
Because I think in order to meet the timing that we need to meet for things, I think probably on February 2nd, we need to finalize the warning for that informational hearing meeting, which is really just a meeting, we're just warning another meeting, so there's not a whole lot to it, other than the structure of it, that's the agenda for it.
For that.
follows a certain structure.
Right, and,
But we also have to have some discussion about, are we gonna do it fully remotely? Or are we gonna try to have some kind of hybrid thing, stuff like that?
all right, so we'll discuss that for next.
I mean, we could discuss that now, I guess. It might be easier if we decided now what we wanted to do, so we knew what the.
Well, the governor said that you can do the whole thing virtually.
Yeah, I'll say that I really think we should do it all virtually.
I think that.
That isn't to say that one or more of us can't be here
Mhm,
conducting that,
mhm.
but to open it up to people to potentially come physically and also online, it's gonna become challenging.
Mhm.
And we're not required to do it, so I don't think we should do it that way. We give everyone, like we did last, and you sat through some of it, we give people painstaking opportunities
Ask.
to dial in with a phone. Nobody has to log in on a computer to access it. There's a phone number that you can dial.
Yep.
We have to go through with people how to mute and unmute themselves on all the various devices, which takes up part of the time, but I think we are more than fulfilling our obligation if we do it through Zoom and have people join that way.
Mhm.
Personally, that's how I feel, but that's how.
Does seem that we're going to have the town meeting done, like it's talking about,
Right.
but then turn
So then
around,
it's-
do
exactly.
another thing for the advisory meeting, it just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So,
So consistency would be the way to go.
Right. So, all right, so, this is not necessary, is it a vote that we need to do to have the informational hearing details done remotely and all?
no, I don't think it is. Well, no, I mean, not really. I think
No.
we decide to warn it that way, the way we would decide to warn a special meeting or, I mean, it's a special select board meeting.
Right.
That we're warning.
Right.
The agenda for it needs to have
The detail.
that detail. So it's different than our normal agendas because of that, and I'll update all of that with the new stuff, so it reflects, because it contains the entire.
Wording.
The agenda is basically, I mean, the agenda tells people how they can get to the meeting.
Right,
But then basically, the agenda of the meeting is reading through the entire warrant,
right.
line by line, and giving people an opportunity to ask questions.
Right.
Is that online?
Yes, I pulled this offline.
Okay. What did you look under?
I looked under previous agendas
Oh, okay.
in January, previous agendas and.
Yeah, from February
February
24th.
Great, thank you.
So I will produce the same thing with and we decided this year on February 23rd, starting at 6:30, we all are comfortable with that.
February
That's what we're gonna do.
23rd for the informational meeting.
So I can get that ready for the next meeting, just so that we can make sure we're clear on all of it.
Thank you.
Guy, I think this gets to your point. I would suggest that one of the things we definitely have to vote on at the next meeting is the ballot.
Right,
We need to approve the actual ballot for the election.
right, I have to have that by
'Cause you have to-
18th,
Yeah, so if we approve it on the second.
I'm sorry, by the 8th, excuse me.
Right, I
By
think,
the
yeah.
8th, 20 days prior
Yeah.
to this.
So we approve it on the second, and then you've got plenty of time to make some copies and be ready for it.
Yep.
So,
The other thing is that I may put a copy of that candidate file form on the internet, because we have until, I believe, the 28th to have them file. It was the 15th, I believe, but it's been extended. I've got it extended through the Secretary of State. And it may, I thought he said till at least the 24th, but I'm gonna see if I can push that to the 28th for the candidates to respond with their certificate of eligibility.
oh, so that's a really, really good point. So wait, so right, because of our
Like I said, today,
Because of our Monday town meeting, which again, just want to throw out there again, I voted against. I want to be very clear, I voted against that when it was approved. But because of that, technically by statute, the candidate forms were due 2 days ago. So you got them to extend it, do you think, to January 28th?
to the 24th, I know, but I'm gonna call tomorrow and see if I can get it pushed to the 28th.
Okay,
I spoke to the Secretary of State last week and he gave me the waiver. But again, because we're getting this last minute stuff done,
yeah,
they may be pretty easy with extending those timeframes because, you know, today is the first day that I can actually.
Do anything, because we just
Yeah.
voted today.
So right now, I know it's till the 24th, but I'll see if I can get it extended to the 28th.
so a couple.
For the form, that's for the,
A candidate's form,
Yeah,
yeah,
they have
someone
to sign.
who's running for election has to file a form with the town clerk. And normally you had to file it with a petition with 15 or whatever. That's been waived, they just have to file the consent form. But again, that just happened today, so 2 days after the due date.
Right. So a thing to note about the extension of that is that we obviously can't produce the ballot until we know who's
Exactly.
running
which ones
for
are in.
everything.
Exactly.
So if we extend it beyond the 28th, it's not gonna be
No, we can't
super
go
easy
past
for us to
28th.
vote on it the second. I mean, I need some time to be able to plug people's names into
Yeah.
things. I mean, we could go until
I have right
the
now till the
31st
24th.
probably, you could go to the 31st if you want. I mean, it really
I
doesn't
have
take
to
long.
check that with the Secretary of
But
State.
yeah, sorry, I mean, if
Yeah.
the Secretary of State was okay with it
Yep.
and you wanted it. My personal view is that I don't actually think a few days is gonna make a whole lot of difference.
I don't,
I think if we let people know soon, which is something we should discuss. If we let people know soon, then we give people, you know, a week,
yeah.
then I don't think a couple days beyond that's gonna make a difference.
What's the
People are
drop
gonna
dead
do it.
date? I guess my question was, what was the drop dead date for you for the ballot?
Well, I mean, I think the 31st.
Okay, all right. So I can
I
talk with you and I'll give you a message, say this is what I have and,
Exactly, yeah.
okay.
Excellent.
Wow.
So the ballot is gonna look just the
Yeah,
same as we
exactly.
did last year. It'll have a different date and
Pretty much the
different
same.
year, but it'll largely be the same. I mean, different names potentially for some of the things, some of the positions will be slightly different. We're losing the town grand juror, but we're
Yeah.
adding,
Some
At
appropriations, I think.
we're adding 2 articles, so I gotta squeeze 2 more articles in somehow. I will make it no longer than 3 pages again, I'll make sure it
Okay.
stays 3 pages anyway.
So you wanna do, did we do 3 separate pages last year?
I think you did because
yes,
it
because
just
it was easier to count.
yeah, it was easier to count
Okay.
and less confusing for
Okay,
people when they were
Good,
voting.
okay, that'll be good.
So I just have them stacked, so I didn't staple it, because
Yeah,
that way they
no,
knew
that-
there were 3 pages.
That'll work
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I think that worked very well, the way you did it, so I think we should do it the same way.
Because people didn't remember to turn it around on the backside, so.
All right, wow.
Stan has a question.
Stan, yes, sir.
Should
You have to
we-
speak up, Stan.
It's tough to be a chair and looking at you and watching your hands. I understand.
Pick me on the table.
No, you wanna hurt anything. Can we send a notice for anyone if I'm interested in running for an office on the front porch forum and the Warrant
Yeah,
website?
Gwen put it together.
She did,
She's never,
okay, great, thank you.
No, I didn't put it together because you said hold off because we haven't got approval of doing that yet.
okay, let's
So it
go.
wasn't done.
No, it's not done yet, but we're gonna do it today. If not.
So I've never posted on the front porch forum, so it's just the little button up there.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay.
The worst that could possibly happen is they ask you to format it differently than how you sent it to them.
No, yeah, no, I've
I sent
done
something to
a
them
lot,
and
I've
they
done a
said,
number
oh,
of
if we
things
don't
on
take
that.
that, You have to re-enter it manually.
So it's just the town of Brooklyn wants to, you know,
I think it would probably make sense to say,
You know,
and I honestly can't remember whether we said this last year when we did, but I think it would make sense to say that the town of Brookline will be voting all of its positions by Australian ballot.
I may have
so
some,
give me the
you
day,
have to-
I'll work with it, maybe I can just.
And the
figure it out.
deadline for
Yeah,
submitting a
I don't have it.
Consent of,
consent of whatever
yeah.
is X. To make sure people understand, they have to decide now, they can't.
you know, this is just so crazy, you know,
The form is available online.
yeah, I'm gonna put it on, I'm gonna put it online, I don't know.
Secretary of State.
I'm gonna check with the Secretary of State to make sure that we can do electronically,
So where,
which I'm hoping, again, we have 10 days to do everything.
Mm.
It's pretty crazy.
well, I'll probably talk to you on Friday, about this, I'll give you a call and I'll get together with you, all right?
yeah, because I don't have a list of who's doing what and where and.
We'll find it, I got
Yeah.
it, we're all set.
Okay, all right, I can't do it tomorrow, but I can do, on Friday, I have time. All right, anything else on the, under old business? Information, no, all right, we're gonna, thank you very much, David, for all the
Yeah,
effort
that's
that you
amazing,
did and everybody here.
you're diamond and souvenir.
The other thing is, before we move out of here, the town moderator in the past, David and you were both online last year. You as the chairperson of the select board, and David as the moderator, correct, during the informational hearing?
I mean, last year we decided to ask David and he graciously agreed to act as a moderator for the discussion. Just because we thought it would make things go better and, you know, he's used to doing that. And the other thing is that, I mean, we're probably better equipped now to do it, but at the time I had to administrate the Zoom meeting. And to both
Juggle it.
to do that and administrate the Zoom meeting at the same time, well, I mean, in the end, it would have been fine since two people showed up. But we didn't know how many people might show up, so we thought, because logistically, the Zoom part of it, if quite a few people were to show up, the Zoom administration part of it is going to be a task.
Because
For
you have to address each person.
Well, because you'll see, I can't remember whether we put it in the. I can't
Well, we
remember.
followed Robert's law.
So, yeah, but there's a lot of things that involve electronic meetings that have nothing to do with Robert's rules. That, I mean, we automatically muted everyone when they joined the call. So we had to, at the beginning, explain to people, you've got to keep yourself muted. If you're using a computer, you've got to raise your hand. If you want to be recognized I mean, we used a lot of the Zoom administrative stuff to keep it under control, and you have to explain that to people, and you have to explain to them not only how to do all of those things to mute and unmute and raise your hand, not only if they're using a computer or a smartphone, but you have to explain to them how to do that if they've merely dialed in on a phone using whatever, *6 and stuff like that. So there are things that have to be explained to people. I have, I think I typed it up for myself. I have an entire list of talking points of like the administration of the meeting that I prepared, which I can send to you.
Okay.
Now, are you gonna administer the meeting or how?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
It's something we have to figure out. I guess I'd suggest we figure that out next week when we,
Okay,
or in 2 weeks, when we talk through that stuff. I mean, I'm happy to do that. But that also if I'm going to administrate that stuff, then I'm not reading the articles. So somebody else is doing that and somebody else is.
Will that be something that I can do, read the articles?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it also raises the question of whether I think you were gonna reach out to David to see whether, is he Is he willing to moderate this because it's going to be completely electronic? Or?
I wasn't sure,
whatnot?
I lost my last sheet of paper which had those things on it, so I will read. I will talk to David, that's right.
Well, so we can discuss the structure of that next time, when we have time to figure that out. How we manage it.
Okay, so I think we've worked through that part of the A, B, C, and D of the old business. Anything else before we turn the page on our agenda to highway contract maintenance, winter plowing contract? All right, going through some paperwork, I had noticed that the 2-year winter plow contract, while the bid was won by A.S. Clark and Sons in September of 2020, we did not have the contract per se with the articles and the scopes and services and the compensations and so on and so forth on file. And I wanted to get that on file, so I did send this out to everyone to review.
Was there amendments and those kinds of things?
This was straight from the same contract that was done the previous year.
But it says there was addendums, and there was no addendum attached to this.
Where did you
It's
see this?
Article 1 contract documents, this contract and the addendum attached here too. I didn't see an addendum.
Was the addendum the last page, the,
I'm sorry, should we, where is it?
It
Oh, down here, this contract will be given attachment to surplus. Well, it may be
the last page of the,
it may be this addendum, which is the sand bid and the snow plowing bid, those would be the addendums.
Okay,
So I apologize, I did not send this out to you.
maybe I could make.
I can make some copies for everybody.
Thank you.
So, all right, so these need, so that would go as the addendum for.
how many copies you need?
We need 5 each.
5 each?
Thank you, guys.
So in our, if I may follow up with another question,
Yes, sir.
this isn't due to expire until in this year, 2022, I guess.
Right, what we had on file expired, wasn't written.
It looks like this might have been an original contract, September 2020. And it doesn't expire until September or end of August 2022.
Right, I went and retyped it for me with the new dates on it.
Oh, this is a remodification.
Yes, all we did was change the
Okay.
dates on, it, because
Okay.
originally it was the 2 years. For the previous
I
2-year
see.
contract,
It expired back in September.
September, correct.
Oh,
And so I wanted to have something in the file.
now I understand, thank you.
So the only thing that was changed in it, since it's a 2-year contract and it's the same.
Right, it expired 2 years, whatever, September of a year ago.
Thank you.
2020.
Good.
You're welcome.
So those are the addendums. So, give you a few minutes to take a look at it, but then I would make a motion that we approve this contract, and then I will send it out and ask the representatives from the A.S. Clark to sign it and return it to town, or then I will sign it and we'll put it on the file so that we have it. Sam?
I saw parts of this that looked really weak. And I didn't know if this was something that others accepted and I should just stay quiet? Or is there an openness to looking at new phraseology?
I
How do you
think
wanna
since,
handle that?
okay, because I
It's
didn't
already
wanna
been
change,
signed.
I didn't wanna change any wording because we were delinquent in providing the written contract. And they are working under the impression of the same exact rules applied for this 2-year contract as the one they signed 2 years ago. So I did not change anything on it, and, yeah.
The only, sorry.
Well, that was it. See, this is,
The only thing I guess I would say is if and only because I see now from the bid that the bid was, the date of the bid they submitted was September 14th, 2020. That, do we think it would possibly make more sense for this term of the contract to start September 14th, 2020? I mean, it seems a little strange if you went back and looked at it that we were entering into a contract a week before they bid on the work for which they were awarded the contract.
I thought it was an extension of the contract.
But I don't know. Maybe it's. I mean, it's not a big deal. So if we don't want to have to sort that out.
the original
let's just go
contract
ahead.
was entered into October 1st, 2019. 2020. I'm not sure what you're saying.
Well, I'm just saying that we're pretending that a contract started on September 6th of 2020. And the bid that, I mean, I understand the contract part of it, but the contract is predicated on us having awarded that.
Yes,
bid for plowing.
okay, I see what you're
And they
saying.
didn't submit the
The
bid
bid.
for plowing until
September
September
14th.
14th.
So we should change
So-
that,
Is there any reason we wouldn't maybe just change this to
that,
September
I
14th?
did not catch that, yes. Thank you. The contract entered into this,
The other thing, and I guess this is but I don't know if you guys have. I mean, if they accepted this before, then I'm
yes,
okay with it. But it does seem strange to me that they would be okay with accepting a contract until September of the season after they no longer bid on the.
I think they bid as a
Okay.
3-year.
No, they bid as a 2-year, but they, I mean, I don't wanna speak for Clark, but when we put these out to bid, the bid always says for the plowing season of 2021-22 or 2020-2021. So,
But isn't there some language in there saying that the select board may extend the contract? I thought I saw that in one of.
maybe, I mean, and again, if those guys have been fine with this, we don't have to worry about it. It's really only something.
The bid matches
It's
your
really
concern.
only something that would be a problem for them if they didn't like it, but I'm sure they thought, as we would, that this wasn't intended to be something that was gonna.
no, it
was just intended to give a little bit more definition around things in an intelligent way, so we don't need to worry about it. If they were fine with this, let's do the same.
And going forward, when we do have bids, we need to follow up with a contract, not just saying you won the bid and then not give anybody any direction. So going forward, this will be sort of a standard policy procedure to review the contract after the bid is won. Yes, Dan?
Gwen mentioned that she was under the impression, I think, that these bids are for 2 years.
They are 2 years.
Well, it says 2020 to 2021, 1 year. So they need to maybe reissue these, or are you putting
Well-
yourselves in a position where every year you gotta renegotiate something?
No, I mean, but in fairness, when we put these out to bid, and this is how it's been in the past, we said you can bid on it for 1 year, or if you're interested, you could bid on it for 2 years. And at the bottom, they said they will hold the bid price for 2021, 2022 if you choose to do a 2-year contract.
Okay.
And we did-
I did see that now.
We did vote to award it to them for 2 years.
Okay,
So it is still going to be in effect
all right.
for another
Thank you for pointing that out.
We're now in the second.
We're in the second.
Right, yeah.
So,
Right.
all right, so with the change of the date to, changing the date of the bid starting date from the 6th to the 14th, with that change, can I get a
You want to correct typos?
Hmm?
You want to correct any other typos?
you have typos to correct?
Yeah, Article 6, you look at it and it says Article 13 of this contract, there's only Article 7 as a top number.
Yeah. Okay. Town certificates of insurance showing all coverages is required by Article 13. Oh, yeah. So, town certificate of insurance. Showing all the coverages as required.
And that may not be the proper one. Where does it address insurances?
Let me pull out the other form that I have. Hang on. What's this?
Unless there's only 7
Oh,
articles.
Here. There's a contract for services, the short form for small contractors that the town normally gives. So this is in addition, this was backed onto here. I'm sorry, so, and let's make copies of this as well.
Yeah,
Article
I don't
13 is
need
the termination of it.
I don't need it.
I don't know.
Sure, my mistake, this was, that's where the other articles, it's the vendor contracts that all the vendors get.
Hopefully this agreement is on a word processor.
I think so.
Yeah, you should send that.
Excuse me, is there a date that I need to note here?
No, I would just,
Which is
yeah,
under discussion.
I would just say we're discussing minor updates to the contract for winter plowing.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
My fingers are all right, so that was the short form for small contracts. All right, so. Shall we table this to the next meeting so that everybody has a chance to review any changes, or how would you like to address this?
If,
Why don't we table it?
yeah, I agree, second.
Okay.
That's a motion.
All right, David made a motion to table this item to the next meeting. Stan has seconded it. All those in favor of tabling the review of the contract for highway maintenance until the next regular board meeting signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will table this to the next meeting so everybody has a chance to review it.
Not redoing the whole thing, but just those sentences that don't make sense, if I were to just go and make a minor change and highlight it yellow or whatever. And send it out to those individuals here, Bruce included, so you can look at it and then we
Sure.
can discuss that the next time around.
Okay, that's very helpful. Okay, thank you. Contracts are done. And this here. All right, Cynthia, request for proposal, okay. The Brookline committee has met, last night we met and we were reviewing over invitations to bid. I did take what was presented, what the committee initially set up and changed it around and added some of the legalese to it, which I sent out by email, where we talk about the reserving the right to reject any and all bids and such.
Can I ask
Yes.
a question?
They don't, well, I just would say that we don't need to vote on this evening. We're gonna wait until the buildings commissioner's here, and then also for if there were any other changes or concerns. So yes, go ahead, David. you have a-
No, I was just gonna suggest that we table this until the next meeting, because I don't think it makes sense to even discuss it at all without Bruce being here.
Right.
And I was under the impression we weren't discussing it again until the second,
Well,
for
I guess,
whatever reason. I thought that's-
maybe, I don't. Or maybe because we were trying to shorten this meeting. However, I do want to pass out something to you.
Well, and I guess I wanna make sure that there's been a discussion with Carrie and Bruce and.
Stan
we
came last
discussed
night.
about, okay, so you guys have had a chance to,
Yeah.
okay, that's cool,
Right. This
but we should.
This
table it
was,
nonetheless.
passed out last night as well. I remember at one point we had asked the committee to come up with a list of things, that they want to see get done. And so let's put this in addition to discussing the, other items, just to sort of a punch list of things that they would like to do in the future, including landscaping and ADA and such, so it says presented to the December of 2021 select board by Leanne. I don't remember,
No, I don't think we got that.
no, I don't think she, I
We
don't
should
think
have
she,
another year.
yeah, so I think it was intended to be presented, but,
I didn't miss a meeting and I don't remember.
yeah, I didn't miss a meeting either, so, this will be discussed again on the February 2nd meeting, if that's okay, but I'll have some time to take a look at that, and I'll save it for Bruce as well. So item E is tabled, and item F is going to be tabled as well at this time. Okay, new business, any other new business to discuss?
Let's see.
Anybody else? All right, so now we're gonna get into the reports, town clerk report.
Didn't Stan add something?
That's down in seven D,
I didn't know where it was.
I guess, I don't know.
Yeah, that seems like.
Okay, new business, Guy Tanza, town clerk report.
The town clerk's office has been busy. We already started selling dog licenses. And obviously, we're going over the checklist to make sure that we're up to speed in regards to the upcoming Australian ballot, which was approved today by the governor. So moving forward, we'll be getting out ballots, and absentee ballots will become available probably the first week in February or the second week at the latest. And those wishing to have those absentee ballots need to contact the town clerk's office, or you can go on the website and request it on the My Voter page, I believe. But right now, everything is all comprised into a 10-day window, and we're doing our best to put everything together, but we will survive. We did it last year, and we'll do it again this year. The thing is that it's a little tighter this year because of the last minute approval of certain articles in regards to the ballots. But other than that, everything's good. Gwen's doing the working on the books, digitizing the books, and it's been busy. There's been an uptick in refinancing. I've seen that it's been extremely busy. So that's a good thing, I guess, for folks who are taking advantage of low interest rates. And it makes the town office a little busier, but everything's running smoothly. And we're still doing, you don't need an appointment to come in the office at this point. We're running the office as normal as we did before this COVID took place. Other than that, everything's good.
Thank you, Mr. Tanza, for all that you do, and Glenn for helping out in the town clerk responsibilities.
You're welcome.
Do you feel you need a plexiglass thing on the?
Did we what?
Do you have a need for a plexiglass shield?
No, to be honest with you, I'm pretty comfortable with, those who wish to wear a mask.
I've been here, he
those-
doesn't hug anybody.
And those who don't want to wear,
Yeah.
mask, it's, 85% of the state has been vaccinated. And it's the onus of the people to tell us that, you haven't been vaccinated. It's gotten pretty confusing, different camps, different feelings. And it's getting to be a free-for-all now, and that's unfortunate, but that's where we are. So hopefully we'll stay safe.
Okay, we'll move on to my quick report as a health officer and animal control officer, the dogs versus ducks incidents. The dogs that were not vaccinated were brought to Wyndham County Humane, they were vaccinated. I did visit the dogs 11 days after the incident, they were in good health, no rabies. There's a paperwork form that's gonna be be submitted, and there'll be a folder in the office, and I just need to get those dogs owners in here to actually now license them properly. The second item, I did receive another dog bite call from Springfield Hospital, residential a friend of a family came into a home, and the dogs rushed the door, and the guy put his foot out to stop the dogs from going through, and the dog bit the ankle. The next day it was sore, so he went to the hospital. Good news is that the dogs are registered and the dogs are up to date on their rabies vaccine. The one dog, I did get a photograph of the dog. I will be going back to their house on January 28th to make sure the dog is still healthy. And I'll fill out the paperwork. It doesn't have to go anywhere but stay in-house, so that's okay. The third item here is FEMA update. I am working with Mel and identifying some of the pictures, and I'm gonna work with Mark to figure out some of the pictures from the roads from the storm. Just a little confusing because after a while, eroded roads all start looking the same after a while. Some of them I can tell where they are, but a couple of them I wasn't sure. We did sign off on the 11th. For FEMA, we've met the dates, so all of our ducks in a row as far as FEMA goes in that reimbursement. Right now, we're just working on setting up projects and a site visit for those roads that have not been fixed yet.
Awesome.
And I said, it's a lot of snow, but I don't know, I said we can't do Putney Mountain, but
Yeah.
we can do the other ones. All right, building commissioners report, we're gonna pass on that because Bruce is not here this evening. Any other reports? I know Stan, you wanted to talk a little bit about how the town is going to support the redistricting ideas.
Yeah, there's the committee, there's the original reapportionment map. There was a lot of resistance to it, so apparently they have set up a committee, a government ops committee, Montpelier, to go around and do a rework. They've done a rework, it's minor modifications here and there. It apparently takes a lot of the towns that were split in half, left them whole and juggled the surrounding towns to revise the map. But the issue regarding us and our town is such that on the 27th and 28th of this month, that committee is going to hold meetings in Wyndham County. And I guess my question to the group is, rather than go off on my own and decide to do what an individual wants to do instead of us as a group and representing the town, is there any feelings about showing up there and reiterating the stuff that we said at our discussion about reapportionment a few meetings ago when Mrs. Goldman was on Zoom? I don't mind attending whichever one is convenient in time based on any process of appointments to restate our position if you felt it necessary. It almost is a waste of time in a way, given the fact that they haven't changed. I think everyone at the table at the time said they didn't think it would go very far, but it's really surprising for our small number. It would seem to me that we could be lumped with someone else that has a lot more in common with us than
Right.
Westminster. And I think the latest is all are part of Rockingham too. So
Well, yeah, no, just the southern part of, the south portion of.
the original one shut down.
Right,
You look at
but
it
the new one,
compared it
yeah.
to the new one,
Yeah.
I can't tell if it goes all the way to the top of Rockingham or split it, which is not what they wanted to do in the first place, so.
Yeah,
There is a change, but it's still got its lump with someone on the other side of the mountain.
I mean, I guess I would say, and just if somebody can refresh my memory, that discussion that we had was actually the Board of Civil Authority.
exactly, and I was gonna,
So it was more than just us.
Ah,
But I'll say as a member of the Board of Civil Authority, Stan, if you have the time and the energy and the willingness to go to a meeting with them to express the same concerns that you so eloquently expressed to them previously, I would think that would be great. I would appreciate it if you could do that. And I don't, though it might not make any difference, it would still be good for us to express the concerns we have again. Because they're giving me the opportunity to.
I think we should send an email out to all the members of the Board of Civil Authority and with what we just said right now, and get a consensus of what their thinking is, and then move from there. But I am certainly in concert with doing that because, you know, if you don't say anything, then you have nothing.
Right.
Whereas if you say something, at least you might get an answer.
I personally, I get the sense that because we're small, we get taken advantage of in a way that they don't care what we feel or how we look at it. We'll just put this with them, you know, and it didn't make sense to me, what in Bellows Falls, and I remember.
Well,
being
they're
at town
following the
meeting and people
formula
saying,
and they're doing the best
Why are we
they
doing this? It
can.
makes no sense.
Yeah.
Another sentiment isn't
Yeah.
for.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I agree with you, and it's an unfortunate situation, but it's what we have to deal with, and it goes on and on like this all the time. It's politically motivated, it's got so many different things involved with it, but yeah.
Okay,
So if you would generate an email to all the members of the Board of Civil Authority, which is the Justice of the Peace, the Select Board, and myself as the town clerk, and also, you know, on the Board of Civil Authority. And then we'll just ask for, you know, some feedback. And what's the date of that meeting? I forgot the date of that.
they've indicated it's the 27th and 28th.
Is that gonna be
I
a
have
Zoom or,
I don't know, they didn't indicate that, but
Okay.
I'm gonna find out.
all
I
right,
was hoping to do that for tonight, but I just didn't get to it.
okay,
So within the next, it's probably tomorrow or Friday, I will find out where and how it's gonna happen.
the best we can do is alert everybody on the Board of Civil Authority. And the worst of this, so if no one responds, we still, you know, have a consensus of what you wanna do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth noting at that meeting, it was, I think, unanimous agreement with the points that Stan had
Oh, yes,
raised
absolutely.
about the various reasons that I think we were unanimously
Mhm.
thought that this was a bad move.
Correct.
So I can't imagine that everyone wouldn't be supportive of expressing it again. But to Guy's point, it makes sense to just,
So when
Make
I,
sure.
when I do the email, do you want me to send it to somebody for, you to look, see and approval first?
Well, I'm gonna, also, I'd like to call the Secretary of State to see if we can do that. Because it's open meeting law, and if we have a meeting, it may require that we call a meeting to, or, you know, an emergency Board of Civil Authority meeting. I just wanna touch base with them.
Yeah,
And make sure that we're doing everything in the right way.
Right,
Hopefully
hopefully that other vote will stand and allow us to have them, if we choose to proceed and actually act on it, but
yeah,
maybe we do need a second, who knows? You know, I'm glad you're finding out. That we'll do it.
yeah, I'll call him tomorrow.
You're calling, so
Remind me to call.
you're
Secretary.
calling the Secretary of State
Yeah.
for a candidate file participation form
Right,
and
to see if BCA can hold a meeting, or can we do it via email, which I know what he's gonna say. It's an open meeting law, you know, we have to abide by the rules of open meetings, because it's gonna be more than 2 or 3 of us talking
so
about
can
it.
BCA Zoom?
Yeah, I'll just put the, you know, BCA meeting in regards to the appropriate, the redistricting. And wanna
I
make
guess
sure
you could
that
also
if
do
we
that.
have to have an emergency meeting, even if we have the emergency meeting, we could do that by Zoom.
Yeah,
So we could still do it electronically without having to be in one meeting.
thank you for your time and effort.
Yeah.
But the select board members that are present here are.
Yeah, right.
So I should,
Yes.
That's
hopefully I
why
should have an answer for you sometime tomorrow,
Super,
and I'll
thank you.
email you.
Thank you, and I'll try to get my stuff done in person.
Okay. Good.
Thank you very
Thanks.
much.
All right, thank you, Stan.
Yeah.
All right, road supervisor, Everett Mark Bills.
Okay,
Oh,
since the last meeting, we applied more crushed stone over the areas of flooding that occurred during our last stop. Under the white area of town on all roads. That worked well for the one day road maintenance. And since then, our roads have froze back up and, when I had the grader out, trucks were spreading the stone over the areas I, took them to. And, the trucks would follow me from, area to area. And one of the truck drivers noticed, bulge on one of the tires
Oh, no.
on the back, so it's holding air, it's not hindering, but it's like a hernia about the size of a softball coming off the inside of the tire on the back, so. You know, I was holding off putting the wing on because it's a tire that needs to be changed before the wing goes on, wing snowplow. I made contact with, the last people that put tires on the grader, and they're very good service. The tires on the grader at this point probably have another year left in them. There's between a quarter to a half inch of actual tread on all the tires. And you're not supposed to put one new one against a worn one because bad tires have a bicycle chain, heavy duty, that powers, you can lock the front set with the back set in situations of traction, so. I spoke with the coworker there at Chesterfield Tire. They have a used tire, very similar, we're playing phone tag back and forth about the brand, is it bias ply or radial? So I've gathered information and give it to him, so he's supposed to be getting back to me with a price. And what I'm in hopes is they can find something quite comparable to change right on the grader without pulling the wheel off. They can just unlock the tire, there's a beaded rim steel that's pried off. Then there's a rubber O-ring about the size of my finger that seals, it's a tubeless tire. So they can actually come here,
I was gonna say that.
we'll raise the grader up with the blade. Pull the old tire off, put a new used tire in place and be back in business. And just probably
I'm
less.
gonna ask the questions, you know how much they run?
He's supposed to be getting back to me with a price for coming here. And I told him that, if he could figure it into coming when he's out on the road, because they do it every day, to come here and help us out. So he said he could probably accommodate us very easily. He had an appointment, he comes up to the West River bus regular to change tires and thought he could fit us in, so he did tell me that they have a tire, but it depends on what type and if it matches.
What is on the grader? Bias?
Bias, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they've worked well, they've been on several years, nicely,
Don't we set aside money?
we do.
Okay,
We do have
for the hour.
maintenance money, so I'm pretty sure we're covered, I can't imagine the price would be more than 300. To send a truck with a used tire, put it on.
Not to contradict you, but I would be prepared to spend up to $600.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, I used to own a tire store.
Oh,
We didn't
okay,
sell
okay,
tires for that kind of equipment, but
Yeah.
back then,
I know there's. gonna be a-
$320, $450, no problem for a new one.
Yeah,
Today, I expect it to be much more.
sure,
And if it's a used tire and then they're coming out and taking things on and off,
yeah,
they're gonna be there enough time that there's probably
Yeah.
some kind of billing for that, so. I don't, err on the thinking in terms of
So-
large,
Thank you.
but you're doing a good job talking down.
well, yeah, it turns out this guy is a guy that I went to high school with, that, has been in Massachusetts in the tire business, and the guy normally was at this Chesterfield Tire retired. And they brought this young guy up to fill in the position, and so, he's gonna get back to me. So is that if it comes out to be 600-700, is that a price you want me to bring it to the board,
No,
or
I
should
think we
I?
need to do it, right?
I think it's over 500 that it's, that you need to come to the board, I believe.
No.
No, I think
Is it 1,000?
No, I have a purchase policy back there on the wall too.
Yeah, that's a regular,
It's 1,000,
Purchase,
I had no problem with
up to 1,000, I
the
believe.
only other thing, it sounds like, are the front wheels in that chain series?
No, they're the same tire, same same size numbers. But they're hydraulic power in the front, it's an optional.
1,000? Okay.
We're good, incidental purchases
Yeah,
and
looks like we're good.
I feel comfortable that it will be under that,
Yeah, and the other thing is, just as a word, having had some experience with passenger tires with that scenario, that could pop at any time.
Yeah,
It's a
even just
dangerous-
sitting in the grader, yeah.
So,
And it's not just one bulge, it's got like 5 started.
oh, you're kidding.
I'll take some pictures, I wanna see
So the inside of
this.
the tire must be coming apart.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, that sounds like it ought to be done sooner than later.
yeah, I mean, if we keep getting snow, it definitely will have to go out and push back snow banks, so it's something that
Yeah.
if we could match a tire up, that we get
Yeah.
us through for a year, maybe 2.
I guess what I was leading up to though, was one last comment, was if he doesn't have a used one, and this one starts leaking air or whatever, and we gotta change it, would it be possible to take the used one off the front, replace the one that's bad, and have the new tire put on the front with that rim from the one you just removed? So it won't cause a gear grinding scenario that you're worried about?
I'm thinking the wheels are different, the wheel itself are different. on the
Different
front
size and
than it is
everything?
the back because of a hydraulic powering.
Yeah,
The wheel fits over a hub on the front and the back is just.
different kind of tire.
Yeah, front and back is different, yeah,
Okay, that kind of limits what you can do.
but he was certain he could match up a used one
Right.
real easy for us, so. I'm sure that the price of tires will be up, everything else is going up and so, but anyway, that was with the grader, I called Mark Pickering to talk about the topic of closing Putney Mountain Road down for winter travel. And we got into a lengthy conversation about, what classes the road. Is it class 3 toward the top, which I'm assuming it is, going from one town to another. As a class 3 road, he thought that it was our obligation to maintain the road year round, but as far as I can, since I've worked for the town, it's always been closed in the winter.
Same thing with Ellen Ware.
Same with Ellen Ware. And as we talked, Newfane has similar, they have Steepway Road that goes from Brown Road or Dump Road up to Newfane Hill.
After that.
And they actually close that down and they do put up a barricade and signs. So he recommended due to the, safety wise that we did close the road. We talked about, legal statutes about closing the road and he was gonna gather some information about the statutes of closing the road and classifications, and he says, you could weigh it out, but if you turn the road into a class 4, you could definitely shut it down, but you'd lose your state aid money that comes. So, then you could legally close it, but you still have to maintain it, you could maintain it to your specs that you want, but because it goes from one town to another, there's a process. So, anyway, he said to go ahead, I went up before the storms and put up stop. I found some older signage, I didn't order nothing. I thought use what we had for now and come up with the proper signs, but I added a stop sign at each end of our closed section. I also added 3 foot by 4 foot road closed. Up over, on top, I put it up over, I took a ladder, climbed up, screwed it above our no maintenance from October
So-
to June
No, I
first.
see it, thank you.
So
Good sign.
it's obvious, that was at dusk, so it reflected on the one. Now on the left side, I also put a basic road closed triangle with a small orange plaque that says no through traffic. So I think that covers us. Barriers, they're definitely road, they'll stop you. But from experience in the past here, every time we put out a barrier, the people would work
Somebody moves
to
in
remove or drive over.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything, I mentioned maybe reflective barrels, but at the top of the mountain, Archie didn't think they would last. Somebody would take them.
Somebody would take them or shoot them up or whatever.
Yeah. The last signs I
was
replaced had been shot up. So I think having road closed, stop, and I put them up high enough, so if they want them, they're gonna have to earn them.
That's great.
But you definitely, as
Makes a
you
lot of sense.
transition up, I turned around and came back and I stopped, and I think that covers us for.
Yeah, Mark and I, great minds think alike. I had just written to Mr. Harlow from Putney Road Supervisor over in there and asked them about putting up a sign like we had said. And I shared it with Mark, and Mark then communicated and showed me what he had done that day as well. So we're set right now, but we have it in road if you wanted to follow
That's right.
up.
I mean, I drove up,
That sounds a lot better.
it was before this big storm. And there was some loose snow that I stayed in for traction and I had no problems. Where it had been driven on was compacted and you could tell it would be, a little slick if you were speeding or weren't paying attention. But I think we're covered, and when spring gets here, I can back the screws out and take the closed signs down. Traffic and stop signs. And then we can,
That's great.
Mark Pickering, I also, when I tried to find the orange handbook, I believe it's in the file cabinet here, I tried to find it online to go in and see if I could find actual, wordage that tells about the process of closing down. There's gotta be a lot of towns in Vermont that have it. I did find one phone number and I called up to Barry, it was V-Trans headquarters, and I explained my situation and they gave me the phone number for our area. And it was a Jim Ryan's number. I called the secretary. She wanted to know the question, so I said, what's our legal rights to close the class 3 road? And when I got home tonight, I checked my messages and Mark Pickering called me back. So I went in a circle, came back to
We
Mark.
referred it back to,
Yeah, because he's our district
right.
V-Trans.
Yeah.
So I will contact Mark again, and he said, do whatever we had to do to get it safer with the signage. A new thing has plastic reflective, but I think it all depends on if you have stuff out in the, nobody can monitor.
It's gonna get
things are
stolen.
gonna-
Yeah.
anything that's near a road, it disappears, so I think the signs are our best bet.
Yeah,
Hey, you made an attempt.
Yeah, and Mark will, I'm sure will get back to us on legal statutes on that. If not, I will get back with him.
I have the orange book on my computer at home, the most recent one. If
Okay,
you would like me to email it to you, I'd be happy to do that.
all right, I started to look down through to see what I needed for a download, but I was thinking there may be.
I have a copy
There's
in,
a copy in the top that does this, so, yeah, I will, if I don't find it here, Stan, I will definitely catch up with you on that.
I'll email to Dot then. and she
Yes,
decided.
because I borrowed it and then I brought it back.
And I guess that was about all for this.
All right, very good, thank you, sir, for what you do.
Oh, I did-
Yes,
Just one other thing, that's important, but we did get a third load of salt, we're on our third truckload of salt. And they did replenish the sand again, the last couple, the little storms eat it right up, it takes just as much on the little storms as it does after you clean up the big ones, so. We are on our third load, I called almost 8 o'clock one morning, and at 1 o'clock, the truck driver called to confirm his destination and dumped the load in the shed.
perfect.
Did a good job.
Looks like you're pretty thorough. I had to go up Athens Road last Friday. I can see every spot where you had
Yeah,
set it
so,
down. It was
yeah,
looked good.
yeah, I was hoping that we would get enough weather to freeze it down so the clouds don't continue to remove it from its area, but I think now we're in good shape. And when I go back with the grader, I can bring it back into the center of the road if needed, but. Yeah, there's quite a few places on the Athens Road, we did quite a few on Whitney Hill, began the Kirsch Road. Is always, the minute we get a thaw, that one goes mucky, Putney Mountain. For some reason, Ellenware Road stays really well. I don't know if it's the material, gravel, sand under the road, but it tends to stay well.
So is that plot all the way over to the Townsend side, Delaware Road?
No, just out to the
I see.
last house.
Last house, okay.
Yeah.
Same thing at Putney Mountain, we just did the
Yeah,
last
yeah,
house.
okay.
Yeah, same thing. And again, people will use it as a shortcut or just a
Yeah.
fun travel, but every town must have them and people will use them as much as they can.
All right, well, thank you, Mark.
thanks, Mark.
Sure.
And I did write a little thank you note to AS Clark for the recent storm road maintenance, and he did a nice job, people were happy with everything, so that's good. Okay, we're gonna move on then to communications. One piece that says regular mail, I picked up from the box, it's a piece of mail to the town health officer. Interesting thing, I just wanted to see, okay, Governor Scott signed into law Act 38, which amends 13 VSA 351. The changes in the state law affects the authority of the town health officer. As of July 1st, 2021, humane officers authorized to conduct animal cruelty investigations must have certain types of law enforcement, designated humane society employees, or animal control officers who receive specialized animal cruelty investigation training pursuant to statute 20. The town health officers are no longer categorized as humane officers unless they are otherwise employed by a humane society. It goes on and explains how complaints or reports of animal cruelty should be passed. When the town health officer receives that, they should pass it on to the humane officer or sheriff's department, deputy, constable, police officer, states, so on and so forth. Now, I did take a training at the State Police Department with Nancy Libby. I have the certificate of my training for level 1 animal cruelty. I don't know if it's how it is. I haven't, but that was in regular mail, and I'm gonna follow up and see what responsibilities, since I'm both ACO and the chief town health officer. So that was the only hard copy mail that I had to review. Email. The only email that I was sending back and forth, besides things that came from the governor or whatever, was the sign request to Putney, which we just talked about. But neither anything else, anybody else? I guess that's about it. All right, so we'll go to pay orders at this time, payroll warrant. Right. I would like to make a motion to approve payroll warrant 22-28 dated January 19th, 2022 in the amount of $1,709.89. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving payroll warrant 22-28 for $1,709.89 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. I'm gonna sign this and pass this around. Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the accounts payable warrant number 22-29 dated January 19th, 2022 in the amount of $16,907.43. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 22-29 in the amount of $16,907.43 signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes. I'll pass this around. Oh, I'm going to go back to communications for 1 second for an email. I just noticed on my email, it came tonight at 7:25 from the auditors. And it's sent to everyone, but it says, the elected auditors have reviewed the financial statements as of 6/30/21 and have prepared the attached consolidated balance sheet for the town report, so it's in our email. Please note that the general fund has a surplus of $2,153. And the highway fund has a deficit of $62,254 for the period ended 6/30/21. Goes on to say, the general fund had an ending fund balance of $78,148. And the highway fund had an ending fund balance of $151,952. All of the other funds are solvent, as indicated in the attached document. Once the question relating to the reconciliation of IRS 941 quarterly reports to the town salary expense accounts is addressed for the period ending 6/30/21, we can finish our audit work and provide an audit letter for the town report. If the variance is unexplained, then we can add it as an audit finding in our letter to be addressed for the current fiscal year. Please let me know if you have any questions, Frank, Heidi, and Kendra. What he's referring to is that there is a $2,500 payroll item that is not attributed to any one person. However, from their research, they do believe it belongs to the delinquent tax collector's salary. So whether they didn't do the W-9s right or whatever, you might
Yeah.
want to reach out to them, to Frank or to
Yeah, I'm
Heidi.
not sure what that is, I have to see what they, what they're talking about,
So we did, so I'll just say that was in.
because I don't do payroll, I just submit the payroll. and-
Right, well, yeah, you just submit, but if, okay, I don't know what to
Yeah.
say. So we did get his email though, just.
I think that might be a question for Mike. Because he does the payroll, and it appears that maybe they didn't move some delinquent tax fees, salaries, or, I don't know,
Okay,
yeah.
so I will share this with Mike and see if I can talk to him about that, thank you very much, but that was in the under email, so it was a letter received tonight.
But they're showing a deficit for the highway fund for the year ending 6/21 as $62,000.
Yeah.
Is that from the paving?
Which we knew,
That was
we knew that.
the paving on Hill Road?
It's largely because, well, I mean, I
But
can
then
see
we
the
got a
audit
grant for it
numbers.
in,
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. I mean, we only budget, I think we talked about this. We budget $30,000 a year.
yeah, right,
But we spend 100,000, whatever. So actually, and I think we talked about this at a previous meeting, the rest of the highway budget actually came in under budget if we're only 62,000 in the hole in that fund after the year. This is what happens every time we pave.
And the highway fund has an
And
ending fund balance of over $150,000.
right. I mean, if you go back and look at the last time we paved,
yeah,
the fiscal year will have
Yeah.
reflected the same thing.
okay. I'd have to, I'll take a look at it tomorrow, I'm just curious,
I'll send you this email if you'd like.
So a question that needs to be asked, then,
What we do about the
really would have
surplus.
been nice if we'd had this information
Half
a
hour.
little earlier. The highway, my understanding is that, the highway budget, we can carry a deficit or surplus and we can just roll that over from year to year and that's fine. But we're not able to have a deficit or a surplus in the general fund
right,
over a certain amount. There must be some tolerance where we don't have to, I mean, I made the example last time that if we end up with a surplus of $9 at the end of the year, surely we're not obligated to have that included in our warning that we're going to return the $9 to the taxpayers. I don't know if 2153 is an amount such that we need to factor that into the warning, which we unfortunately have now approved and potentially are going to have a special meeting to revise. Someone needs to find that out and advise us on that.
Who would I find that out from?
the Secretary of State or the BLCT, either one of them will have the answers for you.
We'll call tomorrow.
Okay. Let's do that. All right, and we had a surplus like that, I would like to see it moved back into one of our smaller collection accounts like we were talking about before. We did that in a previous year, but, all right, well, that is part of the mail. I will talk to Samara and work from her on up the LTC and then Secretary of State if I don't get an answer. All right, interesting. All right, moving on to the next item, it looks like we need to have a short special meeting next week again. I'm tired, I'm sure we all are, of weekly meetings. But we need to do a special meeting on the 26th of January, right? For voting on the surplus and the auditor's report.
Well, I mean, I gotta be honest, no, we need to do it sooner than that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm
You booked.
I'll
right?
express more of my frustration after this is no longer being recorded.
Okay,
But I'm not doing this repeatedly, week after week. Because numbers that should have been figured out
Long time.
4 months ago got figured out at 7:45 tonight.
Yeah.
So we need to have an answer of what we have to do, and then we can talk about when we meet. I don't know when I'm gonna be available.
okay. All right, the next regular meeting will be scheduled on February 2nd. We will talk at that time about the administration of the Zoom informational meeting. We will have to, the ballot is needed by
Approve the
February
ballot.
8th, so we have to cover the ballot on February 2nd. Informational hearing details, okay. I think I wrote that 3 times in 3 different spaces. Finalize the informational hearing.
We tabled
Oh, and then we.
several things.
Oh, and then we tabled,
The contract for highway for
okay,
plowing
Thank
and
you.
the RFP
and the RFP.
discussion for the
Okay.
house.
So the highway contract, the RFP from the Brookline Meeting House, the informational Zoom meeting, information and ballots. All right, anything else? We'll have to. I'll send out an email once I find out find out a little bit more about how to deal with this. All right, if there's nothing else, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn this evening's meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Stan, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning this evening's meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, the meeting, motion is passed, the meeting is adjourned, the time is 8:38 PM.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Peter.
Good night.
Nice.
Good night, sir.